So who is every championship club's highest performing player on fantasy football so far this season? Let's take a look. Guys, welcome back to another video. Now, if you cast your mind way back to the start of the season, we did set up a championship fantasy football league. In today's video, we're going to be having a little bit of an update on that, and we're also going to be going through every championship club to take a bit of a deep dive into their team and who has picked up the most points from your club so far this season in fantasy football. Some of these, I think, may surprise you. Before we do get into anything, if you do go in to enjoy, make sure to leave a like and please do subscribe for a bit of regular championship content. Also, do check out the Patreon. Link to that is down below. We announced that the other day. Thank you so much to everyone that has signed up so far. We've had loads of fun over on the Discord server and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, link down below to that. Make sure to check it out. And so before we get into talking about each individual club, I thought I'd give you guys a bit of an update on how I'm currently doing in championship fantasy football. So as you can see on screen now, this is the current team that I'm rocking with in fantasy football. And it's served me pretty well so far. So I've got an overall rank of everyone that's currently playing the game of 239. So that's pretty decent. I'm fairly up there in terms of the overall standings. The player that's carried me for the majority of the season so far has been Ivan Toney. He's just a gem for picking up points every single week. If we then take a look at the league standings for who's currently sat top of the Ben HD YouTube League, it is 50 Shades of Andre Gray. So this is the team that he's rocking with at this point in time. Timu Pukki is the captain, doing very well in there, and yeah, some real high performers. Shout out to everyone that is in that top 10, by the way. I'm not doing all too bad, so I currently find myself 20th in the league, considering how many people we've actually got in here. That's not all too bad going from me. So my last game week, I picked up 62 points, which wasn't a bad one for me. But yeah, so that's how I'm doing currently. But without any further ado, let's hop into this one. So the way we're going to structure this one is we're going to go from the lowest point scorer to the highest point scorer, and we'll be working our way up through every single club. So every team on fantasy football has at least one player that has scored over 100 points so far. Without any further ado, let's jump into it. And so we're kicking today's video off with Luton's Matty Pearson, who is Luton's highest scoring player on fantasy football at this point in time, picking up 113 points so far. Now, he is Luton's highest scoring player, but compared to everyone else's highest scoring player, he actually comes out at the bottom of the list with 113 points, which I found to be quite interesting. Matty Pearson's been an interesting one for Luton so far this season. His game time has sort of been split between playing as a centre-half and actually as a right-back. Obviously, as a full-back, you get to have a few more goal contributions. He's popped up with a couple of goals for Luton so far this season. Coming in 23rd place then as Sheffield Wednesday's highest scoring player so far this season, that goes to Tom Lees with 116 points. Now, it was probably to be expected that Sheffield Wednesday's highest scoring player was going to be a defender, with them not being exactly the most free scoring side so far this season, and had someone like, I don't know, maybe a Borna or an Iortha not got injured, maybe one of them could have picked Tom Lees to this one. But yeah, maybe a little bit surprising there, but with 116 points, he does come out as Wednesday's highest performing player on fantasy football so far this season. In 22nd place and as Wycombe's highest scoring player so far this season, that comes in as Joe Jacobson with 117 points. Maybe quite unsurprisingly, obviously a fullback who gets goals and assists is always going to do fairly well in fantasy football, with 3 goals and 4 assists to his name so far this season. He just about manages to fend off Ryan Alsop, who I thought really will be up there for Wycombe had he maybe not missed a few games recently. He maybe would have pipped Jacobson to that one. In 21st place, that's Coventry's Gustavo Hamer with 123 points so far this season. Obviously, the 5 goals that he scored from midfield have served him well, and yeah, really is that heartbeat of this Coventry side so far this season. I think quite unsurprisingly, he comes in as their highest scoring player so far. In 20th place, we then have Preston North End Scott Sinclair with 123 points, the same as Gustavo Hamer. He comes in as our highest points tally so far this season. To be expected really, with 9 goals to his name. He is currently our top scorer and has consistently come up with those big moments so far. Obviously scored at the weekend a really nice goal against Huddersfield. In 19th place and as Rotherham's top scorer so far this season in fantasy football, that comes in as a Heckway. Now this one surprised me a little bit. I thought that maybe Smith or Barlaser might have pipped him to it, but with 125 points he does come in as Rotherham's top scorer so far this season. He's got a couple goals to his name, and with 125 points he's doing alright at the moment. After that, we make a fairly big jump in the overall point tally. So coming in 18th, and as Bristol City's highest performer so far this season, that has been Daniel Bentley. Pretty unsurprisingly so, coming in with 136 points so far this season. He has been by far and away their most consistent player, and that is reflected here with him being their top scorer in fantasy football. He saved them on multiple occasions. That performance at the weekend against Swansea was absolutely out of this world. In 17th place, we then got Derby's highest scorer. That actually comes in as Matt Clark, and the more I thought about that, the more that this one probably does make sense, with Derby being quite rigid and defensively sound so far this season. Obviously defenders pick up points and bonus points for getting clean sheets and that sort of thing, so Matt Clark coming in as their top scorer does make sense, but Colin Kazan-Richards is right behind him at this point in time. If he chips in with a couple more goals, I could see him overtaking come the end of the season. In 16th place, we then have QPR's highest scorer. That is Seny Dieng. Quite unsurprisingly so, he comes into this list with 140 points in fantasy football so far this season. Quite a similar story to Daniel Bentley, I think, at Bristol City. On multiple occasions so far this season, he's dug QPR out. He was fantastic when QPR came to Deep Dell the other week, and yeah, unsurprisingly so, he's been great so far. In 15th place, we then have Middlesbrough's highest scorer on fantasy football so far, and that's another goalkeeper. That's Marcus Bettinelli coming in with 146 points. Now, to be honest with you, I think he's probably been carried a little bit by how good and structured Middlesbrough were defensively, especially at the start of the season. He had that unbelievable run of clean sheets, which I think has served him well, because his individual performances, I mean, they've been a little bit more up and down, I think it's fair to say. In 14th place, we then have Barnsley's Cauley Woodrow coming in with 148 points. He just about manages to fend off Mads Anderson, who's also a real high performer for Barnsley so far this season. But this one makes sense, having the most goal contributions for them so far this season with 14, 10 goals and 4 assists to his name. In 13th place, we have Huddersfield's highest scorer on fantasy football. That comes in as Harry Toffolo. Now, he got off to an absolutely electric start to the season in terms of goals, assists, when Huddersfield really were in full flow and playing this brilliant attacking football. They were also keeping the odd clean sheet here and there as well. Harry Toffolo was like a must-have in fantasy football. Of late, that's sort of fallen off a little bit with Huddersfield struggling and with those attacking returns not quite being there anymore, but still a very good season for him. It's just they have sort of, the points have dried up more lately. Coming in at the halfway mark in 12th place, we then have Stoke City's Nick Powell picking up 152 points so far this season in fantasy football. Now, had Tyrese Campbell not got injured when he did, I think he would have been an absolute shoo-in for this and being Stoke's top scorer so far, but realistically, it's only really been sort of Fletcher and Powell who have been consistently chipping in with the goals recently for Stoke, so that one was to be expected. I thought that maybe a couple of their defenders would run him quite close, but with 152 points, he is by far and away their highest scorer so far. In 11th place, we have quite a surprising one actually. It's Birmingham's Maxime Colling coming in with 155 points so far this season and is their top scorer. To be honest, we probably expected their highest scoring player to be a defender so far this season, with them struggling for a bit of creativity and goals, but even so, the fact that he's so high up on this list with 155 points did come as a slight surprise. This is where it starts to get serious though. Into the top 10 we go. Coming in 10th place, that's Nottingham Forest Bryce Samba coming in with 160 points so far this season for the goalkeeper. Now, there was one part of the season when I was questioning Samba, you know, is he the goalkeeper that he once was when he first arrived at Forest? Well, to be fair to him, he's been kept very busy so far this season. In fact, only 5 goalkeepers in the Championship have made more saves this season than Samba has, so obviously that's played a large part in him picking up so many points this season. In 9th place, we then have Watford's Ismail Assar coming in with a total of 161 points on fantasy football so far this season. Being Watford's sort of most involved player with the goals so far this season with 8 goals and 4 assists, this one was probably to be expected. I think especially since their new manager has come in, he's been given a little bit more licence to be getting forward now, and we're starting to really see what he's capable of delivering. Coming in 8th place, we then have Millwall's Scott Malone, who's been a real top scorer so far this season with 165 points. That's mainly due down to Millwall's defensive stability, so they kept 13 clean sheets in the Championship so far this season. I think only 4 Championship clubs have actually kept more clean sheets than Millwall have, so obviously picking up a lot of bonus points for the lack of goals they've been conceding, and has also chipped in with a couple himself. Coming in 7th place, we have Bournemouth's top scorer, that's Dom Solanke with 170 points. I think that now that he is back to full fitness, he's back within that Bournemouth side, they'll certainly be stronger moving forward. I think throughout the month of February, and for the vast majority of it, they did certainly miss his presence up front. With 10 goals and 4 assists to his name so far this season, it's going to be important that they get him back within the goals, as obviously he's a key component of that forward 3. Into the top 6 we now go, and coming in 6th place, it's going to be Cardiff City's Sean Morrison. Now, Now I think a lot of people, myself included, were expecting this to be Kiefer Moore, but Sean Morrison just about fends off Kiefer Moore, coming in with 178 points. So Sean Morrison being one of the highest scoring defenders on fantasy football so far this season. Cardiff, since Mick McCarthy's come in, been pretty decent for keeping clean sheets. They've kept 10 already this season. He's also come up with 5 goals, so obviously that's going to add to his tally. As of recording, he's just a few points ahead of Kiefer Moore, so yeah, really useful player to get in your teams. Coming in 5th place, we then have Reading's Lucas João, coming in with a grand total of 197 points as of recording. Had he not missed a couple of those recent penalties, he would have already got himself over that 200 point mark. But yeah, really clinical striker for Reading so far this season, there's no doubt about that. He spent quite a bit of time in my team, to be fair to him, up until that point where he got that injury. I took him out then. But yeah, Lucas João, rightly so, is one of the highest scoring fantasy football players so far this season. No doubt he's going to get way over that 200 mark come the end of the season. In 4th place, and as the first player to break the 200 point barrier as of recording, that's going to be Norwich City's Emi Buendia, coming in with 201 points. At the moment, for Norwich's highest scoring player, it's neck and neck really in terms of fantasy football points between Buendia and Teemu Pukki, both of them giving a really good run for this one. But yeah, Buendia's been absolutely magical this season. 9 goals and 10 assists as of recording. We always speak about a player at that really high level when they are able to get into double figures for both goals and assists. Undoubtedly, Buendia is going to do that this season, and yeah, he's just been a cut above, hasn't he? Coming in 3rd place, we then have Blackburn Rovers' Adam Armstrong, coming in with 208 points, so another player over that 200 point barrier. As of recording, he's currently the 2nd top scorer in the Championship with 19 goals. The goals slightly dried up lately as Blackburn's form has sort of tailed off in recent weeks, but even so, it's still been a fantastic season for him, and he's been a real staple in the vast majority of people's teams, I think it's fair to say. I think I brought him in after like game week 3, game week 4, something like that, and ever since he's been in my team. I think it's just a question now of if Blackburn can properly click back into gear, and no doubt Adam Armstrong's going to be winning quite a few of the goals again. Coming in 2nd place, we then have Swansea City's Connor Roberts, coming in with a grand total of 228 points so far this season in fantasy football. That's a really impressive return, obviously. A few different things going into this one. Swansea's incredible defensive record so far this season has a large part to play, with them keeping 17 clean sheets so far, which is an absolutely remarkable record. He also has 8 goal contributions for himself, both with goals and assists, and obviously playing as that right wing back. Yeah, he's absolutely thrived in that system so far this year. I would have him as the best fullback in the Championship so far this season. I know there's quite a few other honourable mentions, some high performing ones, but Connor Roberts for me has just been, yeah, insanely good for Swansea. But that does mean that Connor Roberts has been pipped to that #1 spot, and perhaps quite unsurprisingly so, that does go to Brentford's Ivan Toney, coming in with a grand total of 257 points so far this season. He completely blows everyone else out the water, and I think he's in pretty much everyone's team at this point. Everyone captains him each week, and yeah, Ivan Toney has just really been a cut above in terms of the goals that he's been scoring, the goal contributions that he's coming back with. His goal return this season for the minutes he's played has been absolutely remarkable. He averages a goal every 109 minutes, and added to that all the assists that he's got this season with 9 so far, I think it's fair to say that he's been the king of fantasy football so far this season. But guys, there we have it. There was every Championship club's current highest rated player on fantasy football for the amount of points they have picked up. So I am recording this video on Tuesday, so things might slightly change with obviously all the midweek games that we got going in, but those are the current standings as of recording. Do let me know in the comments down below how are you getting on in fantasy football. If you are in the Ben HD YouTube League, I'll leave all the details for that in the description down below. Let me know where you are currently placed in that league. But apart from that, that will wrap it up for today's video, guys. So if you did go to enjoy, make sure to leave a like. Please subscribe for a bit of regular Championship content. Check out the Patreon in the description down below. But apart from that, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you all in the next one.